Hi there, Chris from TotallyEV, and here we're doing a dedicated audio review of the Audi Q6 e-tron. The review will be actually very applicable to the SQ6 and also the Q6 Sportback. If you want a detailed review of the vehicle itself, make sure you check it up on your pop-up banner or by following the links down in the description below or the pinned comments. Now, to kick things off, we have to talk about its audio configuration, and the amount of detail that's been shared about the stock 10-speaker 180-watt system is pretty limited. Although, going based on my previous information that I've found on the other e-tron vehicles, here you have got audio drivers that are found at the front and rear of the cabin, and you've also got a subwoofer, which is certainly appreciated. Now, in terms of the Bang Olufsen system, this is actually comprised within the higher spectrums, for example, if you go for the SQ6, and also comprised within the Sound and Vision pack, which will set you back £3,195. Here you've got 20 audio drivers that output 830 watts. Now, to be more specific, at the front of the cabin, you have got a center audio driver. Then you have got audio drivers, or 3D speakers to be more specific, within the top of the A-pillar. Then you've got tweeters that are found within the mirror triangles. Then you've got bass drivers and mid-range drivers that are found within the front doors. Then within each of the front headrests, you have got 2 audio drivers, so therefore 4 in total. Then towards the rear doors, you have got tweeters and bass drivers. And then you've also got surround speakers within the C pillars, and finally a subwoofer in the boot. So yes, the combination means that you've got 20 audio drivers in total, or if you take out the headrest speakers, you've got 16 audio drivers, or 15 audio drivers if you take out the subwoofer as well. Now, for you to tinker around with the audio drivers, at least on the Bang & Olufsen system, you'll want to navigate on the display. And here I have added 2 notches to treble, 1 notch to bass, 2 notches to subwoofer, have the 3D sound as low, focus on all, balance and fader in terms of its center position. The surround, I've taken a few notches off and left a speed dependent volume in terms of its center-ish position, and then left the other settings pretty much on default. As for the surround sound via the driver seat head restraint, I've enabled it and left it in terms of its center position, and the same applies to the passenger seat head restraint. And also I've left the voice assistant guidance on, and also have the fader for voice guidance put to low. Now, these are my own subjective settings, but this is what I found to give me the best sort of audio reproduction. Now, for you to connect up to the infotainment system, you have got Bluetooth, although here the SBC and AAC codecs are supported only. Thankfully, you have got Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, which are both supported over a wired and wireless transmission, therefore giving you higher audio fidelity, at least if you're playing back music that's coming from your smartphone. It's also great to see that you've got Android Automotive OS that's baked into the Audi Q6 e-tron line. So moving swiftly on, let's talk about cabin noise, and here the objective measurements will be on your screen. Now, subjectively, what I'll say is with the 20-inch alloys, which were fitted on this press vehicle, there's quite a bit of road noise that can be heard when you're traversing on uneven terrain, or for example, between 40 to 60 miles an hour. Oddly, when you're driving at roughly 70 miles an hour or at even lower speeds, it's not really much of an issue. Now, it's actually quite surprising because generally Audi vehicles are pretty well insulated. I know, for example, the Q8 e-tron is among one of the best I've ever come across. And unfortunately, the Q6 e-tron, at least in this configuration that I've got with this press vehicle, isn't exactly the best. It's further surprising given the fact that you have got side and rear insulating glass, and also with the Sound and Vision pack, which gives you the Bang & Olufsen system, you have also got VNC, Vehicle Noise Compensation. Unfortunately, that doesn't seem to have done much of a job when it comes to having my own subjective opinion, and even in terms of the objective measurements that are recorded, it's not exactly class-leading figures. Now, nonetheless, with all that said and done, let's get on to an audio demo. I'll be placing the camera and microphone in 4 separate locations within the cabin and playing back a track. It's from Priya J and it's titled Like Me. Now, I appreciate an audio demo over YouTube is not quite ideal, but I thought to provide it as it gives you a bit of a taster as to what to expect. Now, in terms of my own subjective opinion, what I'll say is that the Bang Olufsen system is certainly an upgrade over the stock 10-speaker Audi system, but it does actually lack in certain departments. Now, let me expand. Now, first off, in terms of the sub-bass experience, it's certainly there. You have got a subwoofer, which is actually pretty punchy, and also does extend relatively low. It's not exactly as good as some of the class-leading systems out there on the market, but it will certainly leave a lot of people excited, especially if you add a few notches via the infotainment system, like I did. As for the overall mid-bass impact, in other words, that low-end slam that you'll come to expect in bass-orientated tracks with, let's say, the R&B or D&B genre, here at the front and rear of the cabin, the woofer drivers that are found within each of the 4 doors do a tremendous job. So yes, you'll be left excited, and here if you do EQ it a few notches via the infotainment system, you'll get even more of that presence. And here you've still got that good degree of control and precision. However, the caveat is that you have got quite a recessed mid-range experience. Here, both the lower mids and the upper mids just feel a little bit pushed back, therefore affecting male and female vocals, and therefore meaning that they don't really come out to the foreground. Indeed, over here you've got a V-shaped sound signature. And it is actually quite surprising that Bang & Olufsen and Audi have yet again decided to omit any mid-range and high-range EQ settings, instead lobbing them together and putting it within the treble EQ. Now, as a result, in terms of the treble EQ, you might want to add a few notches, but you might want to be a little bit careful with this, because if you do go a bit too high on it, it will not only take away from the accuracy in terms of the mid-range, but it will also affect the highs, and therefore make the overall audio system a bit too sibilant and harsh, and therefore creating ear fatigue, specifically at higher speeds, where the speed-dependent volume actually does kick in. Here, what I'm trying to say is that the overall mid-range is not exactly its forte. And as for the highs, they do actually extend relatively well, depending on what settings that you actually adjust, both at the front and rear of the cabin, and therefore you'll get that good sort of toe-tapping experience. Now, as for the overall soundstage reproduction, it's a little bit lackluster. Unfortunately, over here, very much like the mid-range, I was actually expecting a little bit more. Now, it's worth pointing out over here that via the infotainment system, you have got a 3D audio setting, and in my case, I left it to low. You might be wondering, why didn't I go higher? Well, simply because when I did go higher, it took away from the overall mid-range, which was already affected, therefore giving me a little bit of an odd fishbowl effect. If I turned it off, however, I got a bit more of an accurate stereo reproduction, but unfortunately over here, it took away from the dynamism and therefore affecting the overall width and depth of the system. So therefore, having the low setting and adjusting the surround level found to be the best sort of settings, at least for my ears. Now, as for the headrest speakers, that's certainly appreciated and adds to a little bit of extra immersion for the front passengers. However, still over here, if you do adjust it quite severely, you will find that it does give you a little bit of an odd fishbowl effect, and it's not exactly appreciated. Ultimately over here, when it comes to the overall soundstage reproduction, I was just expecting a little bit more, given that there's more audio drivers that are comprised in comparison to the stock Audi audio system. One might have expected even better dynamism and better width and depth, but unfortunately it's not quite there. Now, fundamentally here, what I'm trying to say is the Bang & Olufsen system is decent. It will certainly suffice for a lot of consumers out there, and for those people who are considering the Sound and Vision pack, certainly you might want to consider upgrading the audio system, because you're getting far more audio drivers and a better sort of soundstage reproduction, and as a result it gets my Audio Approved award. However, it is worth considering that if you do compare and contrast it with some of the more premium audio systems out there on the market, the Bang & Olufsen system isn't exactly that impressive. And for a vehicle that costs upwards of £60,000, one might have expected a better audio reproduction. But alas, that wasn't quite the case. Now, nonetheless, I'll be curious to hear what you make of the Audi Q6's audio system down in the comment section below, and how you feel it compares with some of its key competitors. Now, if you have enjoyed this detailed independent review, definitely do consider dropping a like, subscribing and hitting that bell notification, all of which will be greatly appreciated. As such, I've been Chris from TotallyEV, and I hope you see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves, and goodbye.